live.
Hello, Sarah from the Paper Cut here, live for the first time ever. And we're going to show you how to make a magic card. See the magic? It changes colors. We have this available in a kit. It's our magic card kit. In the kit, you get these three things. You get our specially scored and die cut magic card. You get half sheets of cardstock, and you get acetate. You get enough to make 8 cards. The acetate, you get 2 sheets because you're going to cut that down into quarter-size sheets. So we're going to start with our acetate. I did cut mine down and I pre-stamped it. I did stamp my acetate with our Stays-On pad. To determine where I was going to stamp on our acetate, I took our magic card, I laid my acetate on the inside, then I turned it over and I stamped my image, which is a stamp from Impression Obsession. I stamped that right through the window. So I have my acetate stamped. Now I'm going to stamp our magic card die cut. To do that, I am going to mask off the sides because I don't want to get ink on the back of my card. And that's up to you. Usually I don't care, but a lot of people do, so I'm going to show you how to do it if you don't want to get ink on the back of your card. So I masked off the 2 sides. I didn't mask off the bottom and I didn't fold the bottom because you don't want to get ink right here. That will show through on the front of your card. If I would stamp and get ink through here, I would see it right there. So I'm only going to mask off the sides. This back part is going to fold behind and be on the inside. So I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to use an Impression Obsession Mega Mount with one of their background stamps. I am using a color box chalk pad because those cover really well. I'm going to ink it up. You want to make sure to ink it really well. So I usually go tappy tap back and forth a whole bunch of times. Then I usually mount my rubber close to one edge of my Mega Mount, and then I start that edge close to what I'm stamping. So there's a score line right here. I'm going to start that just a hair back, and I'm going to rock it forward. It's not a magic stamp, you have to apply pressure. So rock it forward and roll it up. I don't want to go back and forth like this because I'll get a bunch of shadowing. So that gives me my background. I can now take my Post-it notes off. And then if I want to stamp other flowers on here, you can, which I did. I did that before we started. So I have our magic card die cut pre-stamped, and I have our acetate. Now we need to get our image that is colored. That we're going to use this piece of cardstock. The instructions tell you to cut off the top like 1 to 1 1/4 inches. So we're going to do that first. And I'm not going to measure. I'm just a kind of go for it kind of gal. So I'm just going to cut that off. And we're going to save that for later. Now when you're stamping your image on your cardstock, where to stamp it. You don't want to stamp it really low. You want to stamp it close to the center. If I would have stamped my image really low, when I go and I line up my acetate on top of my stamped image, my acetate would be hanging off the bottom. So I want to make sure to stamp my image kind of in the middle, which I pre-did also. I stamped and I colored my image because I figured you wouldn't want to watch me color. So now if I line up my 2 images, you can see that the acetate is all the way on the cardstock. So right now I need to attach my acetate to my cardstock. I'm lining them up so I know which side is the front and which side is the back. I'm flipping this over, laying it down, and I'm going to use a narrow tape. I'm using an ATG gun, 1/4 inch, and I want to do that very close to the top, as close to the top as possible. So I have my adhesive on there. Now I'm going to line up my acetate with my colored image. So I have to set that down to do it. Line them up starting at the bottom, make sure my little owl is perfectly lined up, and then just kind of follow it and set it down. Now I have my cardstock with my acetate attached at the very top, and when the images come together they're totally lined up. Now I need to trim flush with the acetate. This is why we didn't need to have anything lined up before we started, because we're kind of lining it up after the fact, and that's why my cardstock was bigger than my acetate. You can go ahead and do that with your paper trimmer. Sometimes it's hard to see where you're cutting, but you want to cut flush with your acetate. Sometimes I'll just use the scissors to do that. So again, cut flush with your acetate. And I'm just trimming all the way around. So now we have our acetate and our cardstock, and it's cut flush all the way around. Now I want to cover this up. So there's a tape line right here that I want to cover up, and I just have a little strip of cardstock that I'm going to do that. Now you can use a decorative cardstock. You can cut it with Deco Edge scissors. You can use a die and cut it. I'm just going to attach that today. So attach that at the very top edge. And my cardstock was a little bit long, so I am going to just trim that off. I also need something to pull up, so I punched a circle, and I'm just going to put tape on half of that and attach it to the back. We're going to put tape on half of our circle. This is the part that's going to attach to the back. And we're just going to attach that to the back. And that's our little pull tab that we're going to pull up and down on. Now I do have tape sticking out there, so I just want to rub that off. Okay, so I have that piece ready. The last piece is with our piece that we cut off at the very beginning. We need to make our slider, so this allows it to pull up and down and not come out. In the directions, there's directions in here, there is a template that shows you how to cut, but you're just basically cutting a tall capital I. I always hand cut these. We are going to be doing a die for this, so it will make cutting these a lot easier. Because you can just
Mitra says, what? You are so high tech and that you're rocking it.
Mitra from Impression Obsession is watching me right now. Funny, she should be working in her stamp room. Anyways, so we have our tall capital I, which is our slider. We are going to be wrapping this little side piece of paper around it to make a little paper loop. So we wrap that around. I want to have lots of space in my loops so I can slide it up and down, and if it happens to be on there crooked, so you can see that I have a lot of space. I don't want my loop really tight. Now I'm just going to attach that with a piece of tape. And I'm just going to cut that tail off. So I have my slider that slides up and down. Now I'm going to take my magic card. I'm going to put it face down on my piece of paper. I'm going to take and put adhesive on the top and the bottom of my capital I. And you don't want tape hanging out. I'm now going to attach this in the upper right hand corner, and then that'll just kind of fall down to the bottom. So I have my slider and stop attached in the right hand side on the back of my magic card. Now here's when the magic happens. I usually set my magic card in front of me, take my colored piece with my acetate attached, slide that on to the bottom. I call this as my T. So slide that onto the bottom of your T so you can see just your black and white image. Fold that up. If I'm look through my window, there's my black and white image. I can pull him up, and yep, he works. So I'm going to slide him back down. Now we need to close it up. So we're going to put tape on our stop. You don't want tape hanging out, you just want tape on that stop piece. You want your stop all the way at the bottom, and you want it kind of centered. We're going to fold that in. That's going to attach to the back of our colored piece. Now we're going to test it before we close it up. So again, we're going to pull it up and down. Yep, it works, and it doesn't slide out. That's from the back. Well, from the back it just pulls up and it stops because of our little stop piece in there. Now we're going to close it totally. We're going to put tape right here and fold it up. We do not want to put tape all the way around. If we put tape right here, that's going to attach to the back of our card that's pulling up, and it's no longer going to pull. You're going to tape your card shut. So you only want to put tape on this one edge. Fold it up, and voila, that's how the magic card works. Now when you're attaching things to the front of it, I do have a little saying. This one's from Impression Obsession 2.
Pat commented, love the paper cut, first booth I visit at the Stamp Away.
Awesome. Thanks, Pat. Anyways, you're going to attach this on there. You can attach it wherever you want. If you do put it over the top of the window at all, you want to use foam tape to mount it up, just because you don't want it to get caught while it slides up and down. So I'm just going to attach this on. Trim it off if you're hanging over a little bit. And there we go. That is how to make one of our magic cards. I will be teaching a magic card class at Stamp Away this year. We won't be there with a booth, unfortunately, because I have a niece that's getting married, so we're going to be home, but I am teaching classes on Wednesday and Thursday. So if you want to make 4 magic cards, pretty much from scratch, take my class. Love to see you there. Thanks much for joining us today. Again, this is our magic card kit, and it's available at www.thepapercut.com. I believe it's under Die Cuts and Kits. Thanks much.